All right, good afternoon, everybody. I just want to welcome you all to the Higher Education Topical Interest Group TIG Chat. Today, we're going to be talking about the 2025 EA Evaluation 2025 proposal submission process. Uh, I'm Kevin Keene. I am one of the co-program chairs for this TIG. Rajiv is also on. I'll let him introduce himself as well. But we just want to provide you kind of a general overview of how to submit proposals and some tips and tricks, particularly for submitting proposals to our TIG. And we definitely want to encourage you to submit proposals to our TIG. We really want to put together a great program to engage those people who are in this space in higher education and increase involvement within our TIG. So this is a great opportunity to do that. After we do our presentation, we'll stop the recording and we'll have an opportunity to have a chat. So we'll have an opportunity for questions and answers. But also, if you want to share any of your experiences, or we'll share some of our experiences in submitting proposals and just have a chance to talk that through. So I'll turn it over to Rajiv because he'll be starting off our presentation. But thank you for taking the time to attend. We will be posting this to our YouTube channel. And in the chat, I'll also be posting the slides with the link. So you'll have that as a resource. And also feel free to drop your name, your information in the chat as well, so we can get to know one another as well. So Rajiv, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you so much for that, Kevin. Hi, my name is Rajiv Ramdot. I am the program co-chair with Kevin Keene for the Higher Education TIG. Um, we are very excited in order to have this conversation with you today. We know that things are a little bit uncertain right now, but hopefully we're able to sort of gather again together in November. Kevin, do you mind advancing the slide for me, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. So this year's theme is engaging communities and sharing leadership. As many of you know, when it comes to evaluation, the work that we do has transformative impact, not just with the people we work with, but the people that they serve as well. So when it comes to this year's theme, what we are trying to do is um, the general approach to this year's theme is making sure that within environments, evaluators are able to help sort of empower communities by not just sharing their stories, but also collecting and communicating to what has already taken place. Um, Here in the higher education TIG, we primarily focus on anything related to higher ed, higher education evaluation, higher education themes connected to student outcome, post-education connections, and job placements. But we also work with some independent consultants who work with higher education communities as well. So, Kevin, if you could please advance the slide for me, please. Thank you. The submission due date is going to be Friday, March 7th, 2025, no later than 11:59 p.m. Eastern. The link to the submission site will be in the chat and in the description box to the YouTube video. Once submissions have been finalized on March 7th, there will be a slow gap before the final notifications go out. Typically, what this timeline looks like is that there will be about 2 weeks of wait for those who are planning on reviewing submissions to be trained by AEA. And then beginning in mid-April through mid-May, approximately 40 days, the higher education TIG reviewer team will go through each of the proposals. Kevin and I, as program chairs, we will sort of confirm and analyze sort of their feedback and their sort of analysis. And then you should be able to receive notification as to whether or not your submission was approved or rejected by mid to late June. Kevin, can you please advance the slide? Thank you. When it comes to different types of presentations, my advice is sort of think about what type of engagement you want to have at the conference. Think about who you want your audience to be. So Birds of a Feather are a small sort of informal gathering. Last year, when we were in Portland, it kind of took place around lunch. They did around 2 rounds within an hour. So each Birds of a Feather is like about 20 minutes in length. What this does is we get to sit at a round table and we get to discuss with other members sort of not just the topic at hand, but also a list of questions and dialogue in order to gain feedback. It's a great opportunity in order to have a facilitated conversation around sort of a research area or research project, get a little bit more feedback as to sort of where you're going or what your proposed intentions are for it. Uh, Earlier this year, AEA had mentioned that they really enjoyed sort of how Birds of a Feather sort of took off this year in Portland, and that's kind of opened up even more opportunities for this year's conference. Birds of a Feather had started, well, I won't say in the early 2000s, maybe late 90s, but it was an opportunity in order to just get people together. So if you are wanting to really engage with other evaluators, not just in higher ed, but expand outwards, this might be the proposal option for you. Ignite sessions. Um, there's a question in the chat from Matt. I believe there will be a roundtable session, or maybe not. Maybe not. I think that we might have gotten rid of it for this year. Um, the Ignite presentations are usually a 5-minute presentation, no more than 20 slides. Um, and the benefit of this is that it allows for a more open discussion with a more collective group of evaluators. So typically for an Ignite presentation, you're going to go in there already knowing who the people presenting are going to be, whereas birds of a feather, it's whoever shows up at the table. Your traditional paper submission is going to allow you the opportunity to have a 10-minute presentation, especially if you are combining it with other papers. I believe that there might be an option if you know ahead of time which papers you're wanting to collaborate with, right, Kevin?
Yes, you can submit to the multi-paper session if you put it together as a common theme. But this is if you want to submit an individual paper, it will be possibly combined with the other multi-paper session to put together a common thing. Like possibly the higher education TIG may have 4 of them put together, for example.
Thank you for that, Kevin. And finally, the regular poster presentations. These are typically held in the evenings during the conference, which will take place this year in Kansas City, Missouri. And it gives you the opportunity in order to present your research and discuss with other attendees sort of where you are and sort of where you hope to be. Uh, Pre-conference, sorry for those of you who are joining us live, my lights are motion sensors, so they just went out. Apologies for that. There we go. Professional and development workshops. These are typically held at least a day or two before the official conference kicks off. The benefit of this is that if you are submitting a proposal for this, is that you get the opportunity to lead and to guide other evaluators. If you know a specific skill set, if you have a tool that you found useful, if you um, if you want to be able to sort of take on the role of a mentor or a teacher, this is a great opportunity in order to show your body of work and also connect with others. Kevin, can you please advance the slides? Thank you. The traditional sort of full sessions involve the expert lecture. These are typically held within about 50 minutes, I believe. And within that time, you can give your expert lecture, answer Q&A. These are your more traditional sort of conference presentations. Demonstration is going to be slightly different from expert lecture. An expert lecture is where you're going to be standing in front of people, sort of sharing your ideas and your research, whereas demonstration, you're going to be engaging with the crowd, engaging with attendees in order to show them either how to use an evaluation tool or concept. But it's going to be less hands-on than a skill building workshop. So the skill building workshop, as mentioned on the previous slide, will take place a day or two before the official conference takes off, whereas the demonstrations are going to be sort of a more laid back, a little bit more concentrated, in sense of being able to go through things quickly, and they're usually a little bit smaller as well. The multi-paper sessions, these are going to take up the full hour or 50 minutes. And usually it's 4 papers that have a common theme. We will sort of look through as program co-chairs sort of which themes we believe sort of fit together in order to help AA make this final decision. A panel is going to have a few panelists, a few peoples who have a shared understanding of a theme or concept or tool, or going to be able to engage with the crowd and answer questions that they may have. And finally, a think tank is going to go over it's going to be a session that is hoping to expand a communication and a conversation around a specific topic. Kevin, can you please advance the slides? All right. So now this is the sort of probably the most challenging aspect, right? All of us, many of us on this call are wanting to submit a proposal to AEA, but making sure that what we are submitting aligns with what AEA is looking for can be a little bit challenging. The hyperlink in the slide will take you to the AEA webpage that goes over specifically what the conference theme is, what it looks like, what the program co-chairs, what the reviewers, and what the organization itself are looking at. Um, what we really want are people at all stages of their career. If you are a graduate student, if you are a merging evaluator, if you have never attended a conference before, we welcome you to the table and we welcome you to the event, and we would love for you to submit something just so we get to know you a little bit better. It's also a great professional development opportunity, especially if you work at a university and you have graduate students who are doing evaluation research or work. This could be an incredible opportunity for them to get their names out there, to network with other people. And when you go through, and Kevin will go through this a little bit later, you do get to indicate sort of your experience, not just with an evaluation, but also with AEA and presenting at a national conference. One of the things that we are looking for are new ideas and innovative practices. Um, what excites us is that with an evaluation, even in higher ed, we're constantly trying new things, often due to limitations and access to resources. But regardless of sort of how creative we have to be, the impact of our work and sort of the stories that we tell and gather, it's still meaningful and it's still an opportunity to share with others. So if you're trying something new, even if you're in the early stages, please submit something. This way we can sort of engage with you and help support you along that journey. The types of presentations were in the previous slides, and we'll gladly welcome questions after we get done talking in order to help clarify anything that may need a little bit further expansion. Let's see. And please make sure that whatever you submit is in alignment with the AEA guideline principles. What we want to make sure that we're doing is that we're creating a safe space for everyone to attend, but that we are also doing it in a way that, yes, it can be innovative, and there needs to be heart and alignment with the organization. So feel free to click that link in order to learn a little bit more. Okay, so as mentioned earlier, we briefly kind of went over the higher education TIG, but let's sort of define it a little bit more clearly. We're open to receiving submissions, anything from universities, community colleges, colleges and institutions that are focused on the assessment and evaluation of the programs, the classes, the initiatives, and services for students and faculty populations. I will also add that we're open to supporting staff as well, but within the college or university system. So we have at least 4 goals as a TIG, and TIGs are topical interest groups that are sort of subcategories within the American Evaluation Association that sort of specify and narrow down sort of what it is we focus on. What we ask is that at least that your submission aligns with at least one of the goals for the TIG. When it comes to providing a forum for discussion and collaboration, what we mean by that is we want to make sure that we are talking with people and not talking at people. We want to make sure that when we're gathering people together and we're working collaboratively, that it is done in a way that enhances and facilitates connection, rather than just isolating and lecturing, which I know can be difficult within higher ed because most of us are lecturers, but could break away from that model a little bit. I think it yields incredible, impactful results. Number 2, promote professional development. As mentioned earlier, this is a great opportunity for graduate students. It's also a great opportunity for staff and faculty members who are conducting evaluations, who are researching evaluations, whether it is small scale evaluations for certain classes or student populations or university-wide measures. This can be a great opportunity in order to get your name out there and connect with others. Oftentimes, when we are doing evaluations and we are drawing from theories and concepts or applying tools, some of the difficulties can be utilizing them in areas when we are lacking resources, lacking support systems, whether it's financial or others. And so if in order to ultimately enhance evaluation and understanding those practices, if we can be able to share our stories, it's going to lead to incredible results and even better conversations. And that's sort of what we want as a TIG, right? We don't just want the traditional day to day. We want to be able to share with others sort of how we can navigate the hard times ahead. Same day, discuss best practices, sort of a tie on from the previous one. Yes, there are a multitude of ways in order to conduct evaluation. As long as we are prioritizing the safety and well-being of the communities that we serve, let's have more ideas sharing around that. I believe that is my last slide, right, Kevin?
That is correct. So thank you,
Okay.
Rajiv. So I'm going to walk you through kind of building upon what Rajiv shared, the proposal submission process, and just kind of giving some tips as you're going through and actually submitting a proposal, and maybe pointing out how to highlight some of the things that Rajiv had talked about when submitting a proposal. I know for me personally, it's helpful to know what is coming up when I start to submit a proposal, so to actually prepare the entire proposal before submitting it, and also helps in collaborating with others. And just as a resource, this proposal submission website, Rajiv shared it earlier. I'd encourage you to click on the link. It walks through a lot of different details. I believe it also includes a presentation from AEA on some tips in general for submitting a proposal. And one of the things I believe they talk about is even creating like a Word document so that you can edit this in the Word document before you actually paste it into the proposal submission process. But I'm going to go through step by step quickly. Some parts I'll highlight that are probably a little bit more important. So if you click this link here, it'll take you to the proposal submission website. It has a lot of information that we have shared previously, talks about each of the different types of sessions, what's involved in those sessions. But there's this little button in the middle that says submit proposal. So when you click on that, it will take you to the platform that we use to submit proposals for evaluation in 2025. So once you click that button, this is where it'll take you. If you've submitted a proposal last year, this might look very familiar. If you haven't submitted in a few years, it may be different. But one of the key things to know is that when you come to this page, it's not asking for your AEA login information. This is a completely different platform. So you'll actually need to create a new account. So you'll go to new user, join now. If you submitted last year, you may not have to, but in general, we tell everybody go to join now and create a new account rather than trying to use your AEA information. Otherwise, it becomes pretty frustrating. Once you click on that, you'll get to this page, and there'll be a lot of information. I'll talk about some deadlines and evaluation 2025, but you'll want to find this section that says proposal and click here to start a new proposal. So you can submit multiple proposals. It'll let you know the status of those. This is also where you can come and to edit those proposals. But for the very first time, you're going to want to click this little icon that you see right here to go to click to submit a new proposal. Also on that page, you'll see that there's some documents you can download. It has like
Get a
a
sense of
Word.
what I mean by random variation.
We have a Word
Imagine a
doc.
slightly
We have a Word document you can download that talks about the different proposal types as well as some requirements for the proposal as well that it might be helpful. But all the instructions are also self-contained in this portal. Once you click that, it'll have this pop up where you will enter your proposal name. There are some limitations when you submit your proposal. It has to be it can be a maximum of 75 words, 200 characters. Also on this page, it'll have a drop down where you can select your proposal type. So that's the different types of sessions that Rajiv referred to previously. It also has that link that you can click on where it gives a more detailed description. One thing you'll want to consider is, what is your proposal best fit for? So as we review your proposals, we'll look at it as well. So like, for example, if it's an Ignite presentation, is it something that you can actually present in that short period of time? Or is it something that'd be more beneficial to have for a larger presentation? So you want to think about that as you're preparing your proposal. What does it fit best with? What would be the best format? And maybe what would appeal to the most people who are attending as well. So anyway, on that first page, you'll put the title in, your select your proposal, and then you'll click submit. Once you get to that, there's 4 different sections that you have to complete in order to submit a proposal. You'll see presenters, authors, contributors, title, abstract, and relevant statement, and then some session information. If you did this last year, they've added a new section, which I'm pretty excited about, which is the authors and contributors. And a lot of times when I'm working on a proposal for a conference, it sometimes can be difficult to list people maybe who aren't going to be coming to the conference. But this gives you an opportunity for those people who may have contributed to it, whether it's a scholarly product or some type of project that may not be coming to the conference, may not be presenting, but you can list their contribution. So they've added that section, which is a great feature. But when you come to this, first page, what you'll notice is you have to go through all 4 steps. Once you complete a step, it'll be checked in green. But until you complete that step, it'll look like it does right here on this page. So you'll click through one by one and complete them as you're working through them. This first section is the presenter section. So I'm not going to read everything on this slide, but just kind of in general, this is what it'll look like. So typically when you create it, it'll kind of pre-populate your information if you already have an account. In my case, I already had an account, so it pre-populated my information. But if you don't, you may have to go in and enter your first name, last name, email, and then select your role and then click to add presenter. The different roles, there's a description to the left. In most cases, it may just be presenter, but there's other types of roles that may be applicable depending upon the session type that you have. And it's very clear if you read those instructions, which are applicant. Like I said, most of the time it'll be presenter, but it may be others. But you'll need to go through and add anybody who will be presenting with you in that session and add that information. After you click add presenter, you'll notice that you have to come to the bottom to the presenters list, and you have to edit the presenter's profile. So you'll have to go in and add some additional information. So it's probably a good idea to do that early in the process if you're submitting with multiple presenters, so that you make sure that you have all their information rather than scrambling at the last minute to try to get their information to add it. So this is something you can complete pretty early on in the process. The nice thing about this portal is you can come back later, you can start it, come back later, start it, preview it, and edit it up until the point in which you actually submit it. So it's not that you have to sit and do it all at one time. So this is an early step that you could do easily. Once you've done it, you'll see a green icon. As you can see right now, you see it's profiling complete. And once you've finished all those, you will just click Save Presenters, and they will all be saved. The second part is what I was talking about previously. This is about authors, contributors. So this would be if you have a situation with somebody who's contributed but will not be coming to present, but you can show that their role and how they contribute to this project. Helps a lot with scholarly projects, but of course with evaluation projects you're working on, there may be someone else who contributed that you'd want to add. So you can add their information and then click save and add several co-authors. So this is a really nice feature to make sure that people get credit for the work that they have done. And then the third part, which is probably the majority of the time you'll spend working on this section, and this is the section titled Title Abstract Relevance Statement. So when you click on that link, you're going to see 4 different areas that you have to complete. First is proposal title. I believe that's pre-populated from when you first started the proposal. Of course, you have the opportunity to edit that here if you'd like, the same qualifications. The second part is abstract information. So this is what you'll see in the program whenever if you were accepted to present at this conference. So this is kind of a brief description of what the presentation will be about, and it'll be used for all the marketing materials. You'll see that it has a 150-word limit, so it's pretty short, but you want to make sure that you're very clear to the audience what you are presenting on and its relevance to higher education and the conference theme. So that they have a good idea of when they come to your presentation what to expect. But this is kind of just more of a general, succinct summary of what your presentation will be about. So it's very high level. The box in the upper right-hand corner is where you get to choose your topical interest group. Of course, this is for the higher education TIG. So if you did this, if you're involved in this last year, we were titled the Assessment Higher Education TIG, but we've changed our name to more clearly focus on who we are. So it's Higher Education TIG. But you'll see other TIGs that you can choose from as well. And this year, they've also added an option to have a second relevant topical interest group in case that later maybe you could be cross-listed if accepted. So they're still figuring out that process, but you have the option to include a second group if you'd like. But if you're interested in this particular TIG, it'd be the Higher Education TIG is the one you want to pick first. But there's also a link in there. We can look at all the topical interest groups and their goals, their purpose, and you can figure out where the best fit. Bottom right corner is your relevance statement. So this is going to be a more in-depth description of what your presentation, your proposal is going to be. You have 500 words, which still is not a ton of words, but you have much more space to expand upon your proposal. And just as, program chairs, we want to encourage you to do a few things in this to increase the likelihood of your proposal being accepted. So one of the things that we're asked to score your proposal on is the relevance to the conference theme. So you want to make it really clear when you do this relevance statement how your proposal aligns with the conference theme. And also for us as the higher education TIG, make sure that you make it really clear how you align with the higher education TIG. So, if it's related to higher education, let us know how, so that we can more clearly see that alignment. And then in addition, also just make it clear what your presentation is going to be. What are you presenting on? What is it going to be about? The reviewers need to be able to read it and actually understand what you're going to be presenting on to know if this is going to fit well with the conference, fit well with the TIG, and fit well with our audience for this particular conference and for AEA. So be really clear on what you're presenting on and also the source of what you're presenting on. So, if this is, if you have peer-reviewed publications this is building. It's helpful to include some type of information to show the validity of it. Or maybe this is, some evaluation that you've conducted. So let us know where the source of this information is coming on. That really helps our people who are reviewing proposals just to know the validity of it, what you're presenting on, and to make your proposal stand out for the reviewers so that as they're comparing it to others to say, oh, this is a really strong proposal. It's been based upon, this a project that's been implemented or this theory or this previous publications. It's really helpful for them to see that and also just see the connection with our TIG as well as AEA. So moving on to the last section, which is session information. This is kind of, more general. So Rajiv talked about this earlier, but it's going to ask you to select the most relevant guiding principle, and it's using that same link. So you're going to look through the AEA guiding principles and select the one that's most relevant. And also, you're going to select the relevant competencies from AEA. So you'll have those 5 that check. You have to select at least one. And then you have to select who is the audience for this proposal. Is it beginner, intermediate, advanced, relevant to all audience levels? Just think from AEA's perspective, that it's not necessarily better or worse to be in certain ones. They want to find broad presentations that will appeal to a broad audience. The fourth option is whether you're willing for your presentation to be presented as a poster. You can select yes or no. I will just say that if you select yes, it increases the likelihood of your presentation, your abstract being accepted. I do know last time of our poster presentations, 6 of those were originally submitted in another category. We're only given so many slots, so having that flexibility does increase the likelihood of you being accepted. Then 5 and 6 ask if you are a first-time submitter, if you're a student. AEA really wants to get more people engaged. I'll give people opportunities who haven't presented before, so this is a way for them to find that out. And then also if you're willing to submit a blog post. So as far as our TIG and other TIGs, maybe if you're not accepted, or even if you are accepted, it may be a great opportunity to disseminate your work and the work of your team through AEA 365. So I would encourage you to check that if that is something you're willing to do. And there's a few other questions at the end, and you can click on the links to learn more about that, especially 8 and 9. So 9 is related to an award associated with the conference. You can click that link to see if that's something that is applicable to you. And if you meet those qualifications, you can select yes. And then also the other one, you can select for a travel award as well. You can click yes to no. You can read those things. So our TIG is not specifically involved in that process. That's information that AEA is collecting. For number 10, you do have to agree to the conditions. These are just the conditions. I'd read those closely, make sure that you're okay with them before submitting. That is a requirement. They do ask if you're an AEA member. And then box 12 gives you an opportunity to provide some additional information if there's some conflicts or some information about scheduling, like maybe you can't be there for one day of the conference or something like that. That information is helpful. They can't guarantee that, but that's an opportunity for to put some type of information that may be helpful to AEA in scheduling proposals. So once you entered all that, you will get the green check boxes like in this icon. You will click this button in the bottom left or the top right. It says save submission. It's not submitted yet. I get nervous about that, but it won't necessarily be submitted. Then you'll have the option to preview it. So you can click at the bottom. It says click here to preview proposal so you can review everything, make sure it's okay. I'd encourage you to proofread it closely. And then once you click the submit button, you're good to go. It's been submitted. And it will be sent to AEA. And like Rajiv shared, I think the timeline, it's usually, I believe, about mid-June is when they think a final decision will be made, but the reviewers will be working hard between March and June to review those proposals and working with AEA on those selections. So just a summary, some high points, and then we'll kind of open it up for Q&A. Evaluation 2025 is going to be in Kansas City, Missouri, November 10th to 15th. They'll have that more to the agenda will be coming to the website as it's released and determined. Proposal submissions are due by March 7th at 11:59 p.m. We would strongly encourage you to submit a proposal and love it if you would submit one to our TIG. We would really encourage you to look closely at the conference website and the conference theme as you're working on those proposals. You really want to make sure it's clear to reviewers how your particular proposal is linked to the conference theme. They need to be able to see that because that's something that's evaluated on. And also you want to make sure it's clear to the reviewers how it's related to the TIG. Even if it's not the higher education TIG, whatever TIG that you're submitting to, you want to make sure that's clear to them because they only have so many slots. They really want to highlight work that's associated with their TIG. Think about the type of presentation that's the best fit for your work. And also make sure that you're looking at the guiding principles, the evaluator competencies, because those are things that are important to our profession as well as to AEA. Make sure that you submit the proposal and the deadline on time, leave time for edits, reviews, because things may not go as expected. And once again, select the higher education TIG if you're interested in submitting to us, because we're looking forward to seeing your proposals. Rajiv and I are the co-program chairs for this TIG. We're here to support you. So if you have questions, we will do our best to answer them. If we don't, we'll reach out to AEA and get the answers to best support you in this proposal submission process. Also, maybe if you're not submitting, we're also going to be looking for reviewers. So once we get information, we will be sending a call out for reviewers for proposals as well. So if you're interested in doing that, we would encourage your engagement in the TIG that way as well. So I'm going to back out of the presentation. I believe we're going to probably stop the recording and leave some time for Q&A. But we won't put that on the recording though, because people may not want their questions recorded.